The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
All right, so listen, I'm sure once the show is out, it could be dated, it could be not dated, but I know that as soon as Chris Johnston and Julian McKenzie stopped recording the CJ show yesterday, new information came out. So bringing on CJ for a rare, super rare preseason appearance. CJ, thanks for making time. We know you've got limited time. Mike Babcock.
Why?
The situation is evolving, and by the time this comes out, we don't know where it'll be. But, there was a Darren Dreger report this morning that Nash was really upset about that says he could be fired. What do we know? What do we need to know?
Well, certainly that report is 100% correct. I think that, what we're all waiting to hear is there was a meeting between the NHL and NHL Players Association officials this morning in New York, started at 9 a.m. Believe it is recently wrapped as we're recording this now, in which, the PA was sharing with the league what they found. Marty Walsh and Ron Hainsey, the top two lieutenants at the Players Association, were in Columbus yesterday, met with players, had a meeting there, about Mike Babcock, and they were sharing the findings of those results, plus some others that the PA's found in talking to some former players that played under Mike Babcock previously in Toronto. Basically about this stuff to do with the photos. There's some suggestion there might be a little bit more in terms of what the union might have uncovered in those conversations pertaining to Babcock. And, they've shared that with the league, and now we have to see where it goes next. I think certainly we have to, at this stage, given that training camp hasn't even started, that we're having a discussion, that the league and the Players Association is having discussion at this level, we do have to account for the possibility that Mike Babcock won't even end up seeing one game behind the Blue Jackets bench. But, as we're recording this, I don't want to be making predictions, and certainly that hasn't been communicated as the way it's going to go, but I do think that that's in the air at least.
So Ron Hainsey's role in all this is absolutely fascinating, because I saw some people talk about a potential conflict of interest, but it's double-edged. He used to play for the Blue Jackets, and also he was a player under Mike Babcock. What is his role in all this, and has he ever dealt with anything like this before?
Well, I don't see it as a conflict of interest. I mean, if we want to dig into the hockey world, the whole hockey world, the conflict of interest, right? I mean, everyone's half degree separated from everyone else. A whole bunch of people that would include me. I've been working in the league essentially half my life. I have a lot of ties to people. I mean, I'm just saying I'm not throwing arrows in any one direction. I'm just saying it is by its nature a pretty small industry, and so obviously people have come across each other and have connections like this. Ron's been brought in since Marty Walsh took over as the executive director of the NHLPA in the spring. And, really his role is similar to what Matthew Schneider performed for many years before him, is a conduit between the players, works directly with the top leadership of the union. And, in my personal dealings with Ron, I've always found him to be a very intelligent, smart guy with a lot of thoughts on other sports. I will say this, and he wasn't your typical athlete or typical hockey player in terms of the way he approached situations. So I would think that I have no reason to think he wouldn't be professional in this. And really his job in this is along with Marty Walsh, is to have those discussions with the players in Columbus and to take that information to the league. I don't know that his personal feelings will factor too deeply in this. And really, we should go over the events of what's happened this week, right?
Yeah,
because this story has moved pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about that, CJ, because when we had heard first yesterday, they talked to the veteran players or whatever, and things went fine. But then there was something last night about something had come out with the younger players, and this is where I think it took a turn and got interesting. Is that report true, by the way?
100%. And what happened is this comes out Tuesday, right? Spit and Chicklets released their clip with Paul Bissonnette making the original allegations. A lot of the league senior leadership, including Bill Daly and top players, were in Vegas at that time doing what's called the player media tour. Obviously, a lot of media members were there too. And I think in the initial kind of exploratory phase of figuring out what the hell's going on here, the league and the Players Association initially didn't seem to think there was a lot of merit or concern to what was going on. Basically, when they had talked to some members of the organization, the more experienced ones, including Boone Jenner. We saw the statement that the Blue Jackets put out that night with Boone Jenner, the team's captain, basically saying he had no issue with this. Obviously, others felt the same. But, so initially, Bill Daly gave some interviews and quotes to reporters saying, there doesn't seem to be concern here. And where that changed is when those conversations broadened to other members of the organization. And clearly, at least one, maybe more junior member, we'll call him, of the organization, had some issues. And I don't know at this point in time if it's just the one player or if it's more than one, but certainly that's where things shifted to a different degree here, and that's how you end up having the meeting in Columbus with the PA staff, and then ultimately the conversation that's going on at the league level today. It's the fact that maybe some of the senior members of the organization didn't have an issue. Some of the more veteran players with showing photos and their interactions with Mike Babcock, but that wasn't shared by everyone. And that's kind of where we're at in terms of, how we've gone from Tuesday to Friday. And this has escalated after initially seeming like it wasn't going to maybe go too far.
I think there's a lot of confusion out there. Some of that lies in me. People are trying to figure out, okay, wait a sec. The director of the NHLPA and his second-hand man or right-hand man are investigating a coach asking players to just like show me, hey, here's pictures of my family, here's who I care about. People are really struggling with that because it obviously isn't just that. Mm-hmm. What degree of infraction are we talking about that could see this coach fired as early as today?
Well, I think there's the action itself, which you're right, on the surface, we can rationalize how that might happen. I think it's about the use of power and control, mm-hmm. potentially, in how these things went down, how individuals were left to feel. I mean, keep in mind, we're not operating in a vacuum here, right, guys? I mean, we're talking about a coach who has a documented history, one he's acknowledged to some degree, having regret with the way he dealt with situations with Mitch Marner in particular in Toronto, Johan Franzen, who's been open about, his experiences that he didn't appreciate with Mike Babcock in Detroit when Babcock was a coach there. And here we are again, before really the Blue Jackets even got to the rookie camp, let alone actual training camp. And it seems that more issues have arisen. I think that's how you get to the point where you're thinking about the possibility of him not keeping this job, is because there's seemingly a pattern of behavior. And if, this is a coach that's been out of the league for 3.5 years plus, who you'd like to think had, reflected on, and he's gave an interview with NHL.com in which he said he's reflected on his behavior. He had a plan to not repeat some of the mistakes of the past, but maybe that hasn't happened. And I think that's really what's under the microscope is how does this fall into the pattern of behavior? Obviously, if anything specifically happened that's incriminating in and of itself, that would probably get you to that point. And at a certain stage, you have to remember, this is still a league that, the public trust matters in pro sports. And I think maybe everybody has to ask themselves the question that's directly involved with this. If you're the Blue Jackets, do you want to keep moving forward given what you now see could happen? And maybe even Mike Babcock has to ask himself if he's truly up for this, if everything is going to be under a certain degree of scrutiny. I don't know how this is going to play out. And that's why I want to be very, very, very careful. And unfortunately, a lot of people are probably going to hear this interview for the first time, and we're going to have more resolution than we have at this moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to be predicting exactly what's going to happen because I truly don't know. But I think that those are the levels of conversations here. Does this make any sense for him to coach the team? I mean, even if he maybe didn't violate a law here, or if it just if there's enough gray, is there, does he have the ability to walk back in that room and command the attention? Can he coach the team? I think that's what's at question right now. And, we don't have the answer, but it's certainly the fact that we're asking the question, I think, makes you think there's a real chance that he won't be coaching the team.
Is anybody else's job on the line here? Because I feel like some of this blame needs to fall on Jarmo Kekalainen for making this hire.
Yeah.
Do you see any punishment coming down towards Jarmo? Not necessarily because of this, but just in terms of upper Blue Jackets management looking at this and saying, "Hey, you brought this mess upon us," and Jarmo's head might also fall here.
Right. I don't know, Jesse, if there'll be punishment per se, but I think there's certainly going to be ramifications because there was a long period of time here that Columbus could have hired a whole bunch of different people for this job, of course, right? I mean, and so a decision was made to bring in Mike Babcock. I think understanding what that would probably mean, the questions it would raise, the specter of the past. And so absolutely, I do think if you get to a point where there has to be a change at the coaching staff. I mean, I think that someone in management or people, maybe it's multiple people that I don't have a window into that, but might have to answer for that to some degree. And so this is pretty unprecedented situation. I've covered the NHL for a long time. We've been through sort of obviously a share of things. A lot of things happen over the years, but I can't think of anything quite like this. And we're recording this 3-4 days before training camps are due to open.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a huge shadow over an organization that's trying to pull itself up from the bottom of the league. I don't know how this was all going to fall out, but I would think whether it's immediately over or over maybe some period of time, if this completely goes sideways, if Mike Babcock is removed or steps down as coach or however things might unravel, I would be surprised if there weren't some form of change within the organization as well, just because it's not just one bad actor or one mistake that was made. I think that there's probably a series of mistakes, perhaps by even hiring him to begin with.
CJ, last question, because I know you got to go. The one thing I wanted to ask is, I mean, I can't remember the last time a PA head went anywhere to investigate anything. Well, now, nobody ever would accuse Donald Fear of being energetic.
Doing his job. Oh, yes.
He wasn't exactly an active PA head. And from what we've heard, the process was pretty slow when they were trying to move him out. But Marty Walsh is a younger, far more vital person. CJ, I can't remember a time when somebody went to a city to actively investigate. They might send an investigator, they might talk to someone, pick up the phone, do a Zoom call. But can you remember a time where the PA and the vice PA, Ron Hainsey or whatever his title is, were actively involved in the situation directly like they are now?
I can't off the top of my head think of anything quite like it. And look, a big part of what Marty Walsh promised, and I think what the players, who are responsible for choosing him, through their search to be the next executive director, was that he was going to be very involved. And that, I know he's already logged a huge amount of air miles. I'm pretty sure he was unveiled as the new executive director. I want to say it was in March, but certainly it was last year in about the springtime. And I think he was on the road the next day, going out and meeting players, right away. Like a huge part of his mandate is that he's going to be visible, that he's going to be where the players are, which is obviously playing in 32 markets simultaneously across North America. And, I do think that as when any new leader takes hold of the union, I mean, a big part of your job is getting to know the membership, and it's not an easy thing to do. There's 800 plus players, and obviously those players change over to a certain degree every year. It does require a lot of work and just being on the ground. And so this is consistent with what I think he was hired to do, to be very active, to be front and center, to be out there. And from what I've heard in these, still the early days of his time running the organization, he's made good on that promise. I think we're seeing it in this situation. I mean, every year, whether it was Donald Fear or even the executive directors before him, they go out and meet every team. They call it the fall tour. At the start of the year, they go from team to team to team and travel around and discuss issues of the day and maybe, whatever the key things are. But I mean, this is a case where it's not connected to a handshake tour. This is, going out and getting boots on the ground and hearing from the people that, were affected by this or could have been affected by this. And, it's a interesting start because you're right. The PA has certainly been very involved in this. I don't think that ultimately they're going to determine where it goes. I mean, they go out and they get the information they can from their members. They share that with the league. And then we see how the NHL and or the Blue Jackets react to that information.
Okay. Chris, we know that that you got to go. But we love having you on. Normally under happier circumstances, this is just a bizarre story.
That's not true. We bring CJ on when the Leafs lose or there's a giant story that's ugly.
That's very true.
We never bring CJ on when it's happy.
We would bring him on after the last win. We would.
I'm basically your ambulance chaser.
Yeah.
Like, if something's going wrong,
Oh my God.
you send me out here to be like,
One of these days, CJ, it'll be after
yeah.
the Leafs win the cup, buddy. One of these days.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Let's piss off. How about go away? Not thanks for
you
coming
guys
on.
are happy about a story. You know, you don't need me. You
No.
only need me when there's someone's legally implicated something, or we're firing everyone, or we're trading everyone, or whatever.
Okay.
It's all right. We'll call you in half an hour when the Leafs sign Kessel.
I can't wait. Oh, that's awesome. Hey,
Are you
CJ.
really banging that drum?
No, I just think it'd be very funny. It'd be very
Steve's
funny.
the only one. It's a solo drum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Or up.
Like, where does he play on the right side? Seriously.
Nowhere.
Where,
Center. Fuck it.
fourth line center? I mean,
In university, maybe? I don't know.
All right.
doesn't make sense.
Siege, we'll let you go.
don't-
We know you got other shit to do today. Thanks for all your time. We really appreciate it. We know today's just a crazy day for you, so thank you. And we will talk to you soon. And of course, brand new CJ show. Likely wrapping all of this up is obviously coming out Monday night, but you can find out the rest of it, obviously, because there was more than Babcock on yesterday's CJ show, available right now on wherever you get your SDPN podcast. Thanks, Siege.
Appreciate you guys.
So, I mean, knowing what we know now from CJ, I think it's important to kind of go back a little bit. You know, I was talking about this with my wife Natalie last night. Yeah, that's right. I'm married.
Whoa.
Again.
Wait.
And one of the things she said was what? Oh, I know. I lost the wedding ring at our shoot at the beach.
You lost it?
Yeah, I
You
don't know.
lost your wedding ring?
Yeah, I lost it. Yeah, I don't have it.
Adam!
Yeah.
How have you never brought that up?
I don't know. We didn't do many shows after the kayak shoot. So I don't think we did any shows after the kayak shoot. Yeah, I lost it.
You lost your wedding ring.
I'll replace it.
Well, if anyone's looking for a very slightly used wedding ring, head to the beach in Toronto.
What did Natalie say?
Oh, she was okay. She was like, listen, I would like you to replace it as soon as you can, and I will.
And you're sitting here
I'm sitting here
with no wedding ring?
yeah, no wedding ring. I'll replace it this fall. It's gonna get done this fall.
Wild.
Adam, do you enjoy divorce?
No, I certainly don't. You would think that I did, though.
You know, you would think,
Yeah.
based on actions.
I couldn't see your finger. I legit thought I was about to see a ring because you had a really. Mine is all scratched and worn
Yeah.
from years
Of being married.
of being married.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Well, listen. What if it's like it'll be like a ring that gets renewed every year.
No,
I
for
want
new
your
house. Why?
I want to hear from the wives and husbands out there if there's any sort of punishment that needs to be laid down on the other end of the marriage if somebody loses their wedding ring.
See, she didn't seem to care that much. She was like, "Okay, well, replace it." That was it. That was the extent of the conversation. You got to remember, man. She married me. She knows I lose shit all the time. It's not like
Oh, this was expected?
yeah, like I think if we'd made it to the end of our lives and like, you know, we're both lying in bed like
Till
it's the end of the
death do you
Notebook.
part, yeah.
Yeah, like the end of the Notebook.
Jesus!
And I had the same freaking ring and we're dying. She'd be like, "This is a fucking miracle."
It'd be a shocker. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like, "Wow, that's crazy."
In fairness, I am very surprised I still have it.
See?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but you
very
do.
surprised.
You're surprised, but you do. You
I
have
do.
it.
You do
I
have
do.
it. You do
I
have
do.
it. You do have it.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I didn't realize how funny that would be. I don't know. It's
All right,
I thought
Adam.
that happened all the time. Like, I thought,
Well, do you have any plans for ring number 3?
yeah, well, no, I would start with 2. And
No,
then-
it's 3.
It's not the same one from the first
yeah,
marriage.
right. No, it's
no,
3.
it's certainly not.
No,
No,
certainly
You didn't
not.
that's
reuse
in a
it.
pawn shop somewhere. No, I'm not kidding. I was like, yeah, you know what?
How much percentage did you get back?
Oh, I mean, listen, the rings that I buy are pretty not that expensive. So
Yeah, but
My
did you
wedding
get like
rings are not
70% of its value or anything? 'Cause that'd be a pretty good deal.
yeah, something like that.
Around there,
Something
yeah.
like that. I was actually surprised. I was like, okay. And that was it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
I mean, compared to the wives' wedding ring, they throw in the groom's wedding ring like it's ketchup.
100%. Yeah, it's literally.
Here you go.
Neither of the rings have been that fancy.
Yeah, spend over $40 on Skip the Dishes and you get a free side. And,
exactly.
yeah, no.
Mitch's rings.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Onion ring.
Can't wait till he gets
Can't wait either.
wait.
He got one this summer. So listen, I was talking to Natalie, who has forgiven me for losing my wedding ring, and
Has she?
Yeah, yeah, maybe it's just simmering resentment.
On the line right now, we have. Sorry.
like that's all with the baseball tickets.
Yeah, Oh, I had to wait like a decade to get my revenge.
You're never getting
Here
to
it
the
comes.
story. You're never.
I honestly think it's a little bit more normal than the two of you think it is. I do.
Jesse, what if I close his laptop right now? You think he'd be mad?
It's more funny because it's classic Adam.
That is classic.
It's pretty classic Adam.
I'm not great with keeping stuff.
If we wanted you to play the hits, you're playing them.
Playing the
You know,
hits.
you came out, you played Born to Run to start the show. We're like, damn, I'm having a good time.
Fireworks and everything.
Oh, yeah. The confetti came out, and we're like, wow.
Are you hoping that Alan listens to this
Summer
show?
of 69, let's go.
You said "Born to Run" on the first. That's a Bruce Springsteen song.
I know
Walt's
what I
favorite.
said.
I wanted to kind of re-educate because I think there's a lot lost in the wash here about like what Mike Babcock.
Lost in the wash.
Okay,
Those were the
I get
words.
it. Can we continue with the show now?
I mean, I suppose.
Okay, like I get it. It's funny, but like can we move on?
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the ring. I just want to fucking tell this one sentence.
So you don't want the show to get washed away.
That's right. I don't know if it was, by the way, because
Now who?
I thought maybe I put it on the lifeguard thing. Remember, we put our stuff on the lifeguard thing, and I wonder if it get knocked off that.
We should check the footage.
Yeah, we should.
I'm sure there's a point in if you wore it during the shoot. I'm sure there's a point where we can see where it's on your finger and then it's not.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll ask Drew for the memory cards.
I keep seeing this Aussie guy on TikTok who has a big magnet and he goes magnet fishing. And I told my wife that I wanted to get one, and she was like, "That's really friggin' stupid. And this is going to look good on her because I'm going to find your ring and give it back to you
Can't
like
wait.
a movie."
I would really love. I honestly hated losing it. If I'm being completely honest, Natalie didn't need to punish me because I felt horrible, and it was because it was a really special ring.
Well,
it really was. So I'm kind of bummed about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're not going to deter me.
I know.
You're
I'm
not going to deter
I'm
me
not
from
trying to
ripping
deter
into
you. If you want to know,
You want to feel better about it? Go check your
If
mentions
you want me to
after
be
the
honest,
show.
I felt like shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just don't want to get flamed by the internet.
All right.
Go
Can
ahead.
we do the Babcock stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the only thing I want to say this. I think a lot of people have forgotten what happened with Mike. There's a lot online about players are just soft now.
Right.
Let me tell you, my vision's not great, but I can see Adam's list. It's long.
It's long. Let's start with most recently. Actually, no. Let's rewind. Let's go back to I was across the table from Nat, and she's like, "Yeah, like what happened? He didn't coach the players very well, like towards the end." And I said, "Oh no, it's more than that.
It's difficult to explain, right?
So the Mitch Marner thing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that story.
Sure.
What happened there?
So basically, and we know this because of, I think it was a combination of Terry Koshan and Ian Tulloch online. A story came out shortly after Babcock's departure that I think there was a younger player on the team who he pressured into making a list where he listed his teammates from hardest working to least hardest working. And I think this player basically told Babcock what he wanted to hear. But then Babcock took the list and told the players at the bottom that Mitch, who was a rookie, put them at the bottom. And then we later found out it was Mitch Marner.
And who were the other two players?
I believe it was Tyler Bozak was at the bottom of the list.
And I'd heard Nazem Kadri.
I thought I heard Nazem Kadri as well.
So Mitch apparently was in tears. The veteran guys, Naz and Tyler, were apparently really cool about it and like, listen, don't worry, like whatever. And let's rewind even further, because around that time, Johan Franzen, who Detroit fans know well, gave an interview to Expressen, which is a Swedish newspaper. And Franzen described Babcock as a great coach, but a terrible person, the worst I ever met. He's a bully who was attacking people. It could be a cleaner at the arena in Detroit or anybody. He would lay into people without any reason. Chris Chelios was on Spit and Chicklets to confirm this. And he talked about a particular incident, Game 5, the Wings versus the Nashville Predators in the 2012 playoffs. I think that was the second round.
I don't know.
Yep.
Chelios said some of the things Babcock...
No, first round, because he didn't make it out of the second round.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Some of the things he said, Babcock said to Franzen on the bench, I don't know what he said to him behind closed doors one-on-one, but he blatantly verbally assaulted him during the game on the bench. Chelios said it got to the point where poor Johan, no one really knowing he was suffering with the concussion thing and the depression thing, just broke down and had a nervous breakdown, not only on the bench, but after the game in one of the rooms in Nashville. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. Now, to give you an idea of Chris Chelios, for him to say, that's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. Chris Chelios is kind of a tough guy. His book is called Chris Chelios Made in America. So you might get an idea of the point of view Chris Chelios comes from. Chris Chelios does not consider himself, and I don't think anybody who played with him or against him considered him soft.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is where...
Well, and how many coaches... over his
oh my god,
quarter century career,
Montreal and Chicago and Detroit, first off, great teams. Atlanta. Oh yeah, Atlanta. That's right. He played in Atlanta. For Chris Chelios to say that and back up with what Johan Franzen said, because a lot of people are like, oh, he's soft if somebody complains about a coach, because of course we never believe the people that have been victimized by it, of course. But here's what I wanted to say about the Franzen thing to back this up. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Quoting Expressen, I get shivers when I think about it. That incident occurred against Nashville in the playoffs. It was coarse, nasty, and shocking, but that was just one out of 100 things he did. It was the tip of the iceberg. He would lay into a couple other players, the nice players, the guys who didn't say much. When they left the team, he focused on me. It was verbal attacks and it was horrible things. So he coached, Johan Franzen was coached by Babcock from 2005 to 2015. And sorry, that's when Babcock was there, but Johan Franzen was there, I think, from before that as well. From 2011 to 2015, when Franzen was there, he said, I was terrified of being at the rink.
Gee.
That's when he got to me the first time. I just focused on getting out of bed every morning from that moment. Last year I could sleep naturally for the first time since then. And this is 2 or 3 years after he retired.
Franzen, by the way, he played throughout Babcock's entire tenure in Detroit. It was from 2005 to...
So he was coached by him for 10 years.
For 10 years straight,
This is not a soft player either. They called him Mule.
That's right.
Yeah. Couldn't move him.
And he was tough. And then he had a concussion, and he played through it with post-concussion syndrome, and it made it worse. And he said it was just his attacks. He played with my head each and every day. And then and I want to say this too. Chelios described that Ken Holland, I guess a bunch of players went up to Ken Holland and let him know what happened in Nashville.
Yeah, this is bad.
He said Ken Holland came down to the room and gave a speech and supported Mike Babcock. It was a great speech, but it was to tell everybody on the team, if you don't like it, you could be traded. Come up and see me if you want to get traded. And that's the way it ended. And Ken Holland, to his, to give his side of it, said he's conflating two events that didn't happen. That's kind of what he said. They were separate situations.
It's always what it is, eh?
Yeah. He said what Chelios is talking about happened after the game in San Jose when someone had said something on a telecast about there being unrest in the locker room. I told the players they could come see me if they had anything to say, and nobody did. Now, I know who I believe in this situation. Tend to believe the people that have less to cover up. What does Chelios have to gain by backing up Franzen? What does Franzen have to say gain by coming out with this story? But Babs and Holland and Jarmo and Babs and everybody else have reasons for this to be covered up. The reason that I am telling you all of this, none of this directly affects the situation in Columbus, except for the fact that the person involved has a gigantic resume. And the reason that, and I'm actually really surprised by certain people with big followings going, well, Well, the team said it's done, and now so it must be done. And the star player said it's done. It must be done.
We talked about that last show. Like, you got to get media literate, man.
You do, especially in a situation like this where you don't know, I don't know, we don't know. Yeah. But I think that it's fair to look at this situation and say Mike Babcock has a resume, and I thought it was important that we go back and we examine that resume. And the last point I want to make on it is his interview with Sportsnet 590, The Fan, about a year ago.
Babcock.
This is Justin Cuthbert and Elias Forfar. They asked him about his time in Toronto because he was talking about coaching in Saskatchewan. And I thought it was very, very interesting because I don't know. Can we play the clip? Are we allowed to play that?
Probably not.
Yeah, it's not against it.
Okay. Because what got me about this is, they asked him a little bit about playing here. He said, if you think about things in Toronto that are spectacular, fans are absolutely spectacular. Love of hockey is spectacular. All the activities, the restaurants. But then he goes on to say, and I thought this was interesting, did I like my time in Toronto? Yes. Did I like the way I was talked about after my time in Toronto? No, I did not. And I thought that answer was interesting. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't play it. He said, do I like how I was talked about after I left? No. No. Do I think I did anything wrong? Absolutely. What I think he started the quote with, when he starts the quote, he talks about how it was, they had a plan. They had Riley, they had Nylander, they had Marner. They got Matthews, which was part of the plan. And then they started to win. And he was happy about that. Then he follows that up with, do I like how it was talked about after I left? No. Do I think I did anything wrong? Absolutely. The thing about that to me is he could have left it at my time in Toronto. Well, we had a plan. We had Nylander, we had Marner, we had Riley, and we wanted to get Matthews, and we did. And I feel really good about that. I'm just, bummed that we never went all the way. But he had to get the piece in about I didn't like the way I was talked about after I left.
It's kind of like the illusion of accountability. You know what I mean?
Well, admitting, did I make mistakes? Well, that's like asking me at the end of the day if I made mistakes. Of course I made mistakes.
Yeah.
I let slip to my two best friends in the world that I lost my wedding ring. That was a fucking huge mistake. What a huge mistake. Now, 80,000 people are going to know about it. I'm going to get fucking ripped for this forever. Mistake.
That's a humble brag.
Well, I don't know. Or not 80,000. I'm throwing names out there.
You got
it's way more.
Podcast.
Way more.
Lucky you. Can I throw in what's one of the more egregious things that ever happened in NHL history?
There it is.
Mike Modano.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You brought up the list.
I forgot that.
If you go all the way back to 2010, 2011, Mike Modano finished his career with 1,499 career regular season games played. Only 21 players in the history of the NHL. I think that number might have changed now with a couple that hit it last season, I believe. But 21 players, from when I last looked it up, had hit 1,500 games played.
It's extremely rare. Gretzky, I believe, I was doing some research on him recently. I think he's 13 games short.
Yeah,
of
it's
1,500.
It's an unbelievable accomplishment. And Mike Modano signed his last year in Detroit. That's where I'm going to finish out my career. This is going to be my last season ever. He needed 41 games to hit 1,500. And people forget, it wasn't that he got scratched on the last day of the season. He had 82 games to reach 41. And throughout the entire season, Mike Babcock would just scratch him. Every now and again, he'd scratch him. Instead of maybe just getting this out of the way early on, he left it up to the last week of the season where Mike Modano was coming up on it. And I think there was 5 games left, and he needed to play all 5 in a row to reach that 1,500 games. And then when there was, I think it was 4 games left, they had a back-to-back on the second night of the back-to-back. He scratches them. And then Mike Modano plays out the rest of the season just to reach 1,499. It's such an egregious fuck you.
Not 98, not 97. It's one thing if he falls a bunch of games short.
Yeah.
If he falls a dozen games.
Because then it makes sense. This is an 82 game season, and you needed 41 to reach 1,500. And I'm going to play you 40. I'm going to spread it out so you only reach 40 games. That's such an insult to a great dude.
And the Chelios one, Ken Holland had if I remember the story correct, There was an outdoor game, and Ken Holland had to convince Babcock to dress Chelios, who he dressed for the game and benched. And Chelios admits that he was drinking beers on the bench. And Babcock, at the end of the game, I think the Red Wings were up big. He's like, hey, you want to get out there and kill this penalty? And he's like, no. And actually, there was a story I forgot about, and it's not mine to tell, but there was an incident I had heard of in Toronto with a person around the team who was not a member of the team, who, again, like, he didn't do anything like egregious. He didn't do anything illegal. He's just an asshole.
It's these little psychological games he seems to always play with people.
Well, some of the stories I hear are those psychological games, and you never know where you stand. And some of the stories I hear are just him being a prick.
No, just straight up.
Just straight up being a prick.
Yeah.
But is that enough? Like,
but eventually, when you do this for a 30-year career, people get sick of you.
no, so I completely understand why players around the league would be sick of Mike Babcock. I'm thinking about this kind of from a legal perspective, and I kind of wonder if that's what's happening today. Can you fire someone for being an asshole?
Sure you can.
Yep.
Well,
Because it's workplace conduct.
It's also Julian and Chris made a great point on their show yesterday, where they're just saying the sports world isn't the same as the real world.
Right.
We need to get out of that thing where you compare like the sports culture to everything else in every other workplace. It's fun land. You go up to a guy and you call him the worst things in the world on the ice, and then you go have a conversation after. These refs, they get berated on a daily basis, on a game-to-game basis. If they want to fire somebody, they just kind of can.
oh yeah.
They'll pay him out.
I thought Frankie Corrado had an excellent explanation for the difference between John Tortorella and Mike Babcock. He was able to give a first-hand account of something that we actually talked about last show. He's like, here's the difference between Tortorella, who's like the most notorious yeller in the sport right now, versus Babs. Like, Tortorella will get in your face, and there's no subtlety or mystery when it comes to
you know where you stand.
Yeah.
You know where you stand. You know what you can do differently. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Corrado was waived. Was he waived under John Tortorella? Or I think it was the next season. That's how the Leafs got him. He was waived
No idea.
at the beginning of the season, and that's how the Leafs got him. But he was a young player in the NHL, and, maybe of the softer generation who could get their feelings hurt. And it sounds like he got a few pretty good fuck you matches with Tortorella, and he looks back on it and he's like, I like that guy. Babs, he doesn't. I mean, in a lot of ways, he ruined his career.
Sure. Yeah.
Babcock did.
Well, several people.
Yeah.
were.
Well,
Now,
Several.
I want to.
Josh Levo's a good hockey player.
Yeah. And he was good elsewhere, too. I want to say this. The reason we brought up all the Babcock stuff was not to bash Mike Babcock. It was to show you I don't have to bash Mike Babcock.
I don't give a shit about the guy.
His resume bashes him. I don't have to do that for the reason I bring this up is it's really to put into focus what this guy is leading into this and just how radioactive this person is.
Right, it's like you're in court and you're displaying that there's a pattern here.
There's a personal history. My question is this. Forget that for a second that, wherever this goes, very, very likely nothing happens. Because it's the NHL. Very, very likely.
I thought that a couple days ago.
Okay, but let's just defer to history here.
Sure.
Yep. If past predictors are the best future predictors, based on the NHL and its sluggishness with anything, moving forward on anything, probably Mike Babcock. If we odds it, whatever, Mike Babcock's probably going to be the coach. My question is, how has this not undermined him? How has this, whether or not it's and we touched a little bit on the last show, whether or not this is something that comes to anything, tell me how the Columbus Blue Jackets can have any bite from their management, especially Mike, going forward. I think they're going to have to, like I've said, they're going to have to bend themselves into pretzels to try to show through their PR team and, of course, the interview clips and all the other things that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to rehab Mike Babcock's self-inflicted image. Mike Babcock did this to Mike Babcock, but the problem is when you hire Mike Babcock, he now does it to you. And whether or not something happened here, somebody was clearly uncomfortable. It was enough that the PA flew out to Columbus for it, which we never heard. They never have done this.
I got to say, like, I criticize Marty Walsh or the hiring of Marty Walsh. Like, this is good.
When the Leafs
take it back.
When the Leafs when the Leafs extended Sheldon Keefe this summer, why'd they do it?
Because they didn't want a lame duck coach.
Right. How is Mike Babcock after this not a lame duck coach?
Well, yeah, he's a lame duck coach on a multi-year deal, which is
2-year deal.
That's multi.
Yeah, but it's a 2-year, and it's cheap.
Well, you know what the Columbus Blue Jackets love doing?
They don't like spending a lot of money.
Paying you not to work for them.
I'm telling you. This is going to affect his ability to coach anyway. So they may as well just cut bait now.
We can talk about how Mike Babcock on the ice also has a bad coaching record for the
He's
last
also not
decade.
great. Yeah.
I got his resume up right now. And since 2009, when the Detroit Red Wings went to the finals, and there's a lot of argument to make that Mike Babcock just had a great team. And if the three of us were coaching the 08 and 09 Detroit Red Wings, we probably could have made it to the finals too. Since that finals trip, hasn't made it past the second round.
Well,
It's not. It's not great.
Well, he was the Leafs coach.
No. Well, and Jesse, here, can you click on the 07-08 Red Wings that won the championship, please?
07-08 Red Wings, yeah.
Yeah. Look at this.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say.
Hall of Famer.
I think the three of us might have been able to handle this team with Datsuk, Zetterberg, Lindstrom, Brian Rafalski,
Olympian.
Love a 23-year-old.
Chris Draper.
Yeah. Love a 23-year-old.
Chris Osgood and net.
I'm trying to see how many Olympians are on this roster. Hasek is one of them.
No, we're playing Osgood.
We're
playing Chris Osgood.
Nah, fuck it. Draper and Maltby both were.
Oh, yeah.
Chelios was. I think Thomas Kopetsky was.
Kronwall,
Filppula,
Kronwall,
Samuelsson, Holmstrom, all of them.
Filppula,
all of those guys. Rafalski was the...
Yeah, Team Sweden was Detroit.
Yeah.
Rafalski was.
Literally.
Dude. Like, a lot of them are going to end up in the Hall. A bunch of them are at the Olympics. Crazy roster.
Crazy.
And then the next year they added Hossa and lost. Dude,
Mike didn't want him to play over 18 minutes in the finals, I'm sure.
Oh.
I think to sort of sum up this conversation, wherever this goes, it reflects poorly on Mike, who I think is now, whatever coach he was going to be, he's going to have to be half of that in terms of intensity. You got to watch your ass if you're Mike Babcock. I don't know if he's capable of that. But again, who's the guy that hired him? Is Mike Babcock really the problem here? Or is the guy that said, we should give him multiple years and multiple millions? Knowing all the things that we just gave to you over the resume. And there's so many things. I forgot about the Modano thing.
Oh, there's just so many.
And that's so just what we know. Listen, Jarmo. What were you thinking?
We didn't know this photo thing until this week, and this had apparently been going back to Detroit days.
Kadri apparently talked about it too.
Yeah, everybody did. Like, everybody's been through this, and this has just been a thing. So how many things do we not know?
Listen, I'll just outright say it. I don't like seeing people lose their jobs, but if Babcock ends up getting fired, it's got to come from Davidson, and Kekalainen has to pay for this with his job. He does. We've talked about his...
Does he not anyway?
What?
Look, we are not in training camp yet.
Yeah.
Kekalainen has already brought this on the organization.
He hasn't done
not
shit.
In training camp.
He hasn't done shit like on the ice. Mm-hmm. And then this was his... We talked about it from the moment it happened. This was his final bullet. And if Babcock doesn't even make it to game one, like the only winning strategy here, there's two. One, they do a thorough investigation and clear Babcock of any wrongdoing. Mm-hmm. Two, they just ride it. They ride it for the next month. They just try to get to game one and hope they have a good first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and if they're good, no one cares.
If they're good, no one gives a shit.
Although, I would love to know who the young player is that expressed issues.
They're probably in Traverse City right now.
Because that player, it matters who that young player is.
I think they took it out on the Leafs yesterday. You see that?
Yeah, it was just 7-3.
Holy fuck. I turned it on and I turned it off.
It was not good.
I
It
feel
was
like
not good.
we need different names for these teams. You calling them the Leafs is not accurate.
No, they had one Leaf.
Yeah. Like Matthew Nyes was out there.
Nyes was out there, and Columbus had a guy who I think had like over 20 goals for some reason.
What?
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that.
It was a bit confusing. Well, like I'm even looking at Nyes. I'm like, you don't need to be out there.
No, Nyes didn't need to be out there.
Yeah, I understand why he was out there, but yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, I saw Omar doing like highlights for the Prospects game. I was like, Omar, do we need this on a Thursday?
I
Do you need
saw
to clip highlights.
I saw the second goal and I went Maroon and I turned it off. It was fucking bad.
It's September hockey. Like,
It's September hockey. Well, yeah. Well, I was in the YouTube streams with everyone and we're all just water. Like we found an oasis in the desert and it was so bad that it lasted about 5 minutes.
yeah.
They got shit kicked, let in 2 terrible goals, and then there was like a problem with the ice and both teams had to go back to their locker
They
rooms.
switched arenas.
Oh fuck, it was terrible.
What a just
Terrible.
come on, guys. We don't need to. Blitzball was on. John Boy was doing live blitzball from the warehouse. I tuned in. Should have been watching that.
So you watched John Boy Blitzball over
The Leafs prospect tournament.
I watched
the alleged Leafs and the alleged Blue Jackets.
Love Yaz versus Baggage. It was a great match.
Hell
Went to
yeah.
extras.
Do you get to keep your jersey if you're in that
Yeah.
rookie tournament?
I have my jersey at home.
No,
it's
no.
rookie tournament.
No, not John Boy. I don't fucking care about your John Boy fucking jersey.
I do, and so does Jesse. How dare you?
I'm just talking about warehouse games. What are you talking about?
Listen, I'm thrilled. I want to go with you guys next year. If,
yeah?
if you haven't
I
blown
don't know
it
if
by
you're invited.
talking about
I don't
this,
know.
but I don't. I just wondered, like, I have a friend whose I think great uncle was signed by the Chicago Blackhawks, or the rights were picked up by the Blackhawks in the 50s, and so they have the letter. They have an old Blackhawks puck and like an old hockey stick framed in their basement because it's kind of neat, right? He never played for them, but he was a part of the organization, and that's a point of pride, and it should be.
I used to work with a guy who I think he played one NHL preseason game,
Did he get his jersey?
and it's framed above his desk.
Of course, and it should be. I just hope.
So
I hope the rookies get to keep their
I
jerseys.
know for NFL players, like even if you're a pro NFL players, you played the whole season. If you want to keep your jersey at the end of the season, they take it out of your paycheck.
Like
What?
$200?
Yeah, they take that
Why?
out of your paycheck at the end of the season. And say you do a jersey swap with the guy, like we took off our jersey, we swapped it, we both signed it. They take that out of your paycheck every week.
That's madness.
Yeah, they make the players pay for all of the equipment they take at the end of the year.
And like, can they afford it? Yes. Is that the point?
So, see,
no.
the thing is, some guys are just on the roster and they might not be able to afford it. You know, because in the NFL you can get cut at any moment. You know, this might be your first game and you lose that $200. You're like, fuck. You know,
Hi.
is this worth it?
Are you a kicker? Did you miss once? Get ready to learn Canadian, buddy.
I wonder how the NHL jerseys work, if they just get them or if they got to pay for them.
Steve, you just without knowing it, unhooked my headphones.
Yeah,
there.
I did it
So
on
just
purpose.
wanted
Fuck
to
you.
appreciate it. I want to ask you guys this. This is apparently my headphone.
You got to move your hand, Adam. There you go.
Now we're good. Why does nobody want to? I'm weird.
Work anymore?
I'm weird.
I don't
yeah.
know, Boomer Adam. No, sorry.
I'm interested in the Flames. They had their back to school golf tournament and the last couple of days, and the quotes are interesting because nobody seems to want to commit to the Flames except for the guy that does, and the Flames don't really seem to want to commit to him.
I have zero idea what the plan is in Calgary.
Yeah, so
Zero.
the guys that were non-committal in the interviews were Hanifin and Backlund, which is interesting because Backlund's like a lifer, right?
It's more disheartening for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hanifin, I mean, he's pretty open. He wants to go.
Yeah. Lindholm, who's a guy you'd think they have to keep. He said, I've been pretty clear I'm willing to stay.
Willing to stay.
That's about it. Right now I'm focused on the season and the rest will take care of itself.
They're trying to grind him on the number. Like, I assume he's asking for low like high 9s.
Yeah.
You know, I assume he's asking just shy of 10, and that's too much. Like that's too much of a pretty penny for Calgary, and they're trying to get him down to 9.
You know,
He wants the Horvat.
he'll never have better leverage than he has right now. If the Flames get out and they start winning, and Craig Conroy said this, he's like, if we start winning, guys start having fun, I'm sure we'll get those contracts done. That's
Yeah?
what he said to the reporters.
But what if
What if everything
What
that
if-
last year?
you fucking stink?
I don't know that
What
they
if your
do.
goalie tries to play a puck 20, 25 feet out of his net? God knows how many times he was fucking off.
If they have competent goaltending, they're in the playoffs.
Yes.
So I think you take that bet, right?
They're also probably going to trade Dan Vladar.
Yeah, because
that'll
they
be
got Dustin Wolf sitting there.
Big
Sounds
return
like-
for the Vladar.
I saw there was an exchange on Twitter. Basically, Pavel Francouz in Colorado may not be ready to start the season.
Yeah.
He was limited to less than 20 games last year. And someone went, was it Jess Balmostro? Dan Vladar, you are a Colorado Avalanche. It's a good match. But there's so many teams with 3 goalies right now. There's going to be a wild amount of guys on waivers. And I know a lot of people are assuming Martin Jones is going to get claimed.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like Vladar could go on waivers. Jones, Casey DeSmith could go on waivers. There's a lot of guys. Riddick.
Hold on. That's not what I want to talk about, though. I don't
Why
give a
not?
shit about
Why
backup
not?
goalies on fucking waivers.
Yeah, you do?
I care about
Adam,
why.
they're not backups. They're
wh-
thirds.
Why the? Yeah, sorry, you're right.
It's better.
Why? What? I'm trying to figure out, and I know it's a tricky situation that Craig Conroy's found himself in.
Mm-hmm.
Why, if you want to hang on to guys, you need to make a statement about where you are, right? And where you're going.
No.
Lindholm, to me, is the statement piece, is he not? Former 40-goal scorer, probably one of the heart and soul guys. on
Make
the
a
team.
statement by keeping him.
Keeping him.
Yeah,
and
but-
having him commit for 8 years.
Yeah, but he's going to ask for too much money. And I assume he's asking for too much money right now, and you have to wait for that number to come down.
You know who?
What was the line?
You know who's going to ask for? You know what's going to seem like way too much money when they're trying to rebuild and they can't move his contract? Huberdeau and Kadri. Probably Huberdeau more than Kadri. Those contracts only make sense if you hold this team together.
And they're going to. But
think so?
it's just going to take a little bit. You can't do the deal right now where he has all the leverage. What did the Calgary Flames lead the league in last year?
Bad luck.
That's very close.
Goals on plays where the goalie tried to do too much.
Yes, as well. They
Goals a
led the
game,
league
sorry.
in overtime losses. They had 17.
Wow!
They missed the playoffs by 2 points.
Because they had Nick Ritchie in the shootout with the season on the line.
Winnipeg
Wow.
had 95 points. Calgary had 93, and they had 17 overtime losses. If this team gets any bounces, any type of competent goaltending where your goaltender isn't trying to play the puck in the middle of the ice, they're fine. And I think you wait till December when that number comes down because you get a couple good months of good Calgary Flames hockey where they'll rebound, and Lindholm's going to be like, okay, it's fine. I'll take 9.
You know what I think might be at play here? What was the line? You said he's a former 40 goal scorer. He didn't score 40 last year. 2 years ago when he scored 40, what was the line?
It was Gaudreau, Kachuk, Lindholm.
Yep. And both those guys are gone. And both those guys are making well over 9. Gaudreau's 9.75. I don't remember what Kachuk
Yeah.
is. 9.5?
Yeah, I think it.
Close to 10?
Man, what a steal that is. Jeez.
Dude, it's really good. It's really good. And Lindholm, I think, is probably sitting there going, dude, I was nominated. I scored 40 goals just like those two. I was nominated for the Selke, and I was the center.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get the least?
He's a 22 goal scorer right now.
Yeah, because what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you want the Bo Horvat contract after, oh my God, 80 games, 22 goals, 64 points?
That's still some of the best on that garbage team. And I
Sorry,
would say
I
to
didn't
him,
mean to do that.
here's what I would say to. Did you spit all over Jesse? By the way,
I did. I didn't mean to do
That's
that.
quite the spit take.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
the Connor, man, it's Connor McDavid. I'm just thinking Flames domination, Connor McDavid. The interesting thing though is that it's not really his. I would, if I were him, I would say, yeah, the points last year is because you stuck me with the worst head coach in history. Like, part of the reason that the Flames lost that many games is they could not score. Part of the reason they could not score is that they had a head coach who was about 10 years past due. And I know we won the Jack Adams the year before, but let's be honest.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, who fucking cares? You got domed by the Edmonton Oilers in the second round, absolutely smashed, and you never recovered. You never saw a sniff again.
Dude, sometimes you see a playoff series break a team's brain.
That game one. Even though they won game one.
And dude, like,
here's Edmonton came back from 5 goals or something?
Great example. When Pekka Rinne basically single-handedly beat the Blackhawks in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Swept them.
They had 3 goals in 4 games.
And the organization has never recovered from that series.
Immediately after?
They got shit like so fast.
Pinar and Facade.
Starts
with that
broke
trade.
them.
Yep.
It broke their brains, and it. Well, the loss to Edmonton, I think, gave them the fucky wuckies.
So it's
a little bit more colorful than the yips.
And listen, with the new coaching staff in there, I think things are going to be probably a lot better. You're actually going to, put players who are meant to be on the power play. They're actually going to practice it in practice, which they didn't do.
No.
Do you believe a team that didn't score goals did not practice the power play? That's true, by the way.
So, supposedly it's an exaggeration, but it's true enough that I think it was a factor in why they stunk.
Do we care about the 2028 Calgary Flames?
2028?
It's pretty far.
Because currently, if you add on Lindholm and his long deal, he's 29-year-old man, or 28-year-old man. If you want to sign him to 8 years, he's going to be 36 by the end of it. And the 2028 Flames will have Jonathan Huberdeau making $10.5 million when he's 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's tough.
Nazem Kadri making $7 million when he's 33, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mackenzie Weegar making $6.25 million when he's 30, 40, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35. And then we'll have Elias Lindholm at, let's say, 35, making $9 million. So that is an old-ass team.
So you have to keep the guys you have now because you got to do it now.
You don't have a choice.
Because you're still going to have them in 28.
I like this game. I like this game. So he's the team's number 1 center.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to cry and shit our pants that he won't be, or we have to cry and shit our pants if he doesn't sign an 8-year deal that is too expensive when he's too old.
Why don't they just sign him for 5?
I think you
or 4.
Right.
No.
Is that on the table?
We must cry and shit our pants if he doesn't sign the max term deal, even if it is objectively a bad idea.
You're talking about a different market here.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
I think we should focus a little on the Flame.
No, I think paying him $16 million well into his 30s is a great idea. Yeah. And it's going to bring us our first cup since the 60s.
I'm sorry.
Or whenever the last time the Flames won the cup was.
I'm sorry, Flames fans. This is about Toronto now.
No, but okay, if the holdup is money,
yeah.
Because he wants the max term, buddy, I know the cap is going to go up, but you need to be reasonable about money because we are not getting your best years. He's 29 now, you said?
28.
He's 28. Fuck am I signing you to 8 years for?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're going to give me a deal.
Right. But I think Lindholm and his camp think that somebody in free agency will.
Oh, yeah. Somebody will. Somebody will.
Right. So what's the whole
first line center? Of course, somebody will.
Does he have trade protection? I'm trying to look at his thing.
Nope.
Not yet.
Nothing there.
So I
man, a $4.5 million or $4.85 million 28-year-old center UFA. I mean, it would be a crazy get at the trade deadline for anybody gets him.
Someone's going to make a genuinely bad financial decision. That's their prerogative. Should it be Calgary?
No, I think they're going to be fine. The cap is spiking, and this is the thing. If they go and they give him if he wants 8 years and that's it and it's a non-starter, okay, Fine. I get why you want to wait on that. But is a guy who is capable of scoring that much and still scored 22 goals in one of the worst scoring years in Flames history and 64 points, by the way, too, generated a ton of offense. Is he not worth 8.5, 9 million, 9.5 million?
I don't know.
Come on, guys.
I don't know.
He's a pretty fucking valuable piece.
If I'm
agree.
running this team, I punt on this deal. I find some weather way forward.
Ooh.
But the problem is, like,
Who then?
Elias Lindholms don't grow on trees.
And-
so, like, who?
And you're still stuck with Huberdeau and Kadri.
And, like,
Still have
what a
them.
mistake. Like, if you're Huberdeau, you're like, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah, but
Because
is my 3-4 year deal on the table for Lindholm? Can I give him 10? Can I go up to the 10 that he wants for 3 years? Then yeah.
if I'm the Flames,
but
I push for
I'm
a 3 or
not
4
doing
year
the
deal.
8. I'm punting on the 8, but I'll do the 3.
I'll do the 8 if you take, like, I don't know, 7.5.
Well, yeah.
Well.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but, like, and if he goes, well, I'm worth more than that, and you go, it's not when you're fucking 36, you're not. Or 35, 4, maybe 3. Probably not. Like, the first 3 years are going to be bliss.
Yeah.
And then you are going to be an anchor.
I think
And we don't need that.
what I'm just asking for out of these GMs is to just be a little smarter about the length of the contracts.
Yeah.
I feel like the way the Matthews thing's played out is perfect. And if you're looking at Lindholm and you're saying the only way we can get this done is 8 years, think about your team in 2028 and it's going to be a disaster.
Hockey could have changed. You know, we all went small and quick or whatever. What if the way the game changed? Like, who knows what it's going to look like?
Hey, I got one. How about the cap is going to spike in the NHL, but companies that the NHL regularly does business with keep going bankrupt?
Oh, that's just BioSteel. That's not a
And Bally.
and pal. Those are pretty minor.
Well, who's next?
They're pretty minor.
Who's
man.
next?
They're not.
I don't know.
You naming 2 is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm on Steve's side here. I
No,
think
it's not.
No.
It's really not.
It's-
The regional. We knew regional sports rights were toast. We've known that for half a decade.
Yeah, but-
we've talked about how frustrating it is that they still exist. We know that. BioSteel is a
Delicious drink.
sure, it's great.
It's fantastic.
But the thing with
love
BioSteel is, first off, it still makes a ton of money. It just spends a ton of money on marketing. If they cut, quarterly, if they cut $10 million from their marketing each quarter, they'd be profitable. Somebody's
Their
going to...
marketing is they're the official
No.
drink of the NHL.
Yeah, okay. But then you've also got Patrick Mahomes, the NHL, Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, until recently.
Yeah.
The BioSteel Center that used to exist in Toronto. They've spent wildly on
What was
marketing.
the BioSteel?
That's now the OVO.
Yeah, OVO.
That was
Athletic
BioSteel.
Center.
before. Yeah. They were a huge Leaf sponsor for a while. Listen, the BioSteel thing, somebody's going to buy that, and there's probably going to be one of those huge beverage companies, and they're going to run it like they run all their other beverages, and they'll be fine. That's what'll happen.
BioSteel's delicious. I think
That's what'll happen.
tastes like
You just can't spend that much marketing. That's all.
Send me more.
the red one tastes like red freezies. The blue one tastes like blue freezies. It's fantastic.
There's an orange one. It's like mango pineapple.
Also, the way you get the
Fucking
powder in
delicious.
it, too, and you shake it up.
I've never had the powder one. I only drink it out
the
of
powder
box.
one's cool.
Yeah,
Powder
I
one's
get the
cool.
boxes delivered. You know.
You get boxes. What do you
Yeah,
I have a
we're-
frother for my
we're going to
coffee,
practice
and
in the
that's
morning.
what I use.
Yeah, we're going to
Is
practice.
that with your AG1?
Yeah, you get the boxes and you grab it, you hit the ice. You know, it's a good time.
Yeah, bro. You just get out there.
Yeah, you just skate hard. You know, you have a cool down, a little BioSteel.
You just whoop Steve's
Little
ass in the
BioSteel.
Bernsey
Listen to
Cup.
you.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good time.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
I don't know if you saw this, but if you're a Leaf fan, this will feel really good. Mikhail Sergachev was on 32 Thoughts, and he said, "We don't want to be the team that Toronto finally got to the second round, and they beat Tampa Bay Lightning." Remember, this is direct quote, so he's Russian, and there's some
Yes.
missing grammar. They didn't go through to the second round, but we didn't want to be that and lose to them. In my head, we should have won every cup. Every year we should win the cup in my head. Yeah, obviously we're pissed off. We don't want to lose. And I had to say, like, first off, first half of that quote, I'm like, you know, as a Leaf fan, you can eat shit. You know? Also, and you know, whatever, nerd. Like, you lost.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, you wouldn't have poop in your pants right now there, Mikhail.
You've lost. But
Lol.
the second half of that quote, and I'm not actually trashing Mikhail Sergachev.
I am.
I think he's really good. Is he said, we're pissed off. We don't want to lose. We want to win the cup every year. And so, yeah, I laugh and say eat shit, but I also fucking love that attitude.
Oh yeah.
Oh, me too.
I love that.
If you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, you should expect to win the cup every year. Again, I keep talking about all the research I've done this summer. Andrei Vasilevsky, I believe, is tied for 12th in all-time NHL Stanley Cup playoff wins with Hasek.
I'm seeing a lot of people.
He's in his 20s still.
I'm seeing a lot of people, to that point, seeing a lot of people say, oh, you know what? It's probably the Leafs division this year. Tampa's had some setbacks, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
well,
what are you, fucking new?
CJ was talking about that on the CJ show that I listened to on the way in here. And like, the Tampa Bay Lightning very literally don't even give a shit about the regular season. They don't.
No, they don't, but I still think they're going to win the regular season.
No, it's funny watching them throughout the regular season because every now and then they're like, I kind of feel like killing this team tonight. And then they do.
And they fire it up.
They make a point out of it. They did it against the Leafs, actually, in recent memory. And then the Leafs beat them. But the Lightning need to get in. And then whoever they play, regardless of where they finish in the standings, is the underdog.
Yeah.
Tampa could be the second wild card team, and whoever they play is the underdog.
And the reason I bring that, or I interrupted you there, is because of what you said about Vasilevsky. Any team with that guy,
Animal,
and Hedman, and Kucherov, and Stamkos,
Point,
like you just
Cirelli,
Hagel. It's and their defense is starting to Sergachev is maturing into. I feel like one day that guy could win a Norris. I think that that team is so. I don't know why people are counting them out. I've seen it a lot on Twitter. No. In the preseason projections, Tampa to me is the odds-on favorite to win the Atlantic right now, barring injuries. And I think. But I don't think they care. But I still think they will.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win the Atlantic because it's not a priority for them. I was a little concerned when CJ said the Leafs are going to make it a priority. Just because.
Well, they got to win something.
Well, I
think that they got to get that ball rolling.
Believe me, I had a conversation with myself where I was like, "Why does that concern you, Stephen? You want them to win, Stephen." I think it'd be great if they won the division, President's Trophy, and the Cup. That'd be great. That would make me the most happy. But if I had to pick just one of those, I'd pick the Cup.
Sure.
I'd pick the Cup.
But it doesn't mean the others aren't important.
Right.
They can be.
They can be.
I think what was a brain breaker there is when they won the Canadian division and fucked it anyway.
Yeah, and the President's Trophy is useless. Like we don't shit on Boston enough for what they did last year. You know, you run show in the regular season and then you get eliminated like that. Like, and
that's on the coach.
Every year consistently since 2012, the President's Trophy has been completely useless.
It's on the coach. He didn't pull. He played an injured goalie, and he should.
Yeah.
They had their foot on the Panthers' neck. And he played an injured goalie. I think he's a great coach. I also think he made an enormous mistake and let them back in.
He
did.
We got to give credit to the Panthers.
Yeah, there's also two. No, but
there's
they two
were
hockeys
up 3-1, guys, and you play an injured goalie. No, but the team that can do that.
There's two different kinds of hockey that we watch every year. There's playoff hockey and there's regular season hockey. And the Florida Panthers figured out how to play playoff hockey as good as anybody.
Not just playoff hockey, deep series playoff hockey, where you can just fucking do
Game
whatever you want.
Game 6 and 7 hockey. It's another different kind of hockey.
Beat the fuck out of your opponent. Man, that highlight of Gudas with Marchand is so funny. So funny. Do not build a team for regular season successes. There's no point.
And we'll do season previews and stuff like this. I would not be shocked as far as the Leafs go if they take a step back in the regular season and they finish third in the division.
And it's going to drive people nuts.
But they're tougher to play against in the playoffs. Here's the thing, man. I want players to look at Toronto like, fuck, I don't want to play there. Like when they're not in the free agency. I want them to play, when their contracts are up and come sign a big contract in Toronto, that'd be great. But when you're rolling into Toronto and it's November, I want you to say to your family, you know what, stay home. That's how I want it to be Don't fucking come to the ring because you always have these guys.
We got a
who
snowstorm?
are like, I'm
What are you
gonna
talking
buy
about?
50 fucking tickets and run the Toronto Maple Leafs out of their own building.
Yeah.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time. There's a lot of Southern Ontario guys here. Grew up Leaf fans. I get it. I want it to change. I want it to be fucking. Oh, you're from Southern Ontario? You're not leaving with all your teeth tonight.
You want it to be a Metallica concert?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, Adam.
What's the punch in that?
Oh, it's just
It's a flourish.
Oh, you
words.
meant the players.
I don't mean it literally.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I meant the players.
Okay, I was like,
Not
all right.
the family
All right.
members.
Not the family members. The family's fine.
Okay.
And I hope they all have
We
good
thought you
dental
were
plans.
advocating to get family
No,
members.
I'm talking about like mom and dad. Sure, you guys can come, but let's not bring my aunts and cousins and whatever because I don't want that kind of pressure.
might not
because
leave
the
with
Toronto
me.
Maple Leafs are not going to make it easy on
You
them.
get that. Not all parents are excited to see their kids fight,
Yeah.
except for Darnell Nurse's dad. That clip is really.
Can
funny.
we
That is-
do trivia based on what you're talking about? Maddie, don't put this on the screen. I have the all-time playoff wins leaders for goalies.
Oh,
I'm going to ask you to name the entire top 5. Doesn't have to be in order, but you get 3 strikes. So that's 8 guesses, I guess, if you get it right. You get 3 strikes. Name me the top 5 goalies, all-time wins list, playoff wins list. So,
I know the top 3
okay.
off the top of my head. So, do you want Adam to go first or me?
No, combined heads.
Okay.
All right, well, do the top 3.
Well, the first one is Patrick Waugh
Ding, ding, ding.
with, I believe, 151.
Yep.
Number 2, so fucking far back, is Martin Brodeur with, I think, 113.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, you mean actually bad, Martin Brodeur?
It's actually bad.
were-
Dude, he's so...
People claimed that for a bit. I was like, ugh.
Brodeur's
Sorry.
regular season career is completely untouchable. Waugh's playoff career is completely
Ice.
untouchable.
Ice in his veins.
Number 3, and this might surprise some, noted Alan Walsh client, Marc-Andre Fleury, I believe, with 92.
Wow.
I don't remember 4 and 5.
All right. Put your heads together.
So
You
we're
get
gonna
3
have to
strikes
think.
on the board. Give me 4 and 5.
Would it be Hasek?
No, I know for a fact it's not Hasek. He
Would it be somebody
doesn't quite crack the top.
Because like it's got to be a lot of modern goalies because we didn't move to 4 rounds until the 90s,
That's a good instinct.
right? The 80s were all 3 rounders.
And you're going to want guys who probably played a shitload of hockey. Like Osgood, like the Red Wings
Oh,
went deep
they had
a
some deep
lot.
runs.
But like
Part of me wonders if
he wasn't the starter for all of them though.
Mike Vernon is he maybe up there?
He wasn't the starter for all of them either.
You guys gonna submit a pick or what? What are you doing here? Yeah, yip yap all day.
And Chicago had what was the Chicago goalie?
Crawford?
Cristobal Huet.
Corey Crawford. Cristobal Huet. Yes.
Shut up.
French national player. Cristobal Huet.
Like Curtis Joseph went deep a bunch.
He did.
Eddie Belfour.
Eddie Belfour is got to be one of them, right?
Oh, I don't know.
You got 3 strikes. Submit something.
I think okay, Osgood.
That's the risk. All right, do it.
Osgood.
You're entering that answer.
Lock it in.
Osgood is number 9. You have failed to guess 4 and 5. Keep going.
Is it a really old guy?
Could be like a Terry Sawchuk or one of the Montreal goalies. Ken Dryden.
Jacques Plante.
Jacques Plante.
Dryden didn't play enough.
Plante played forever. He played from the 50s to like almost the mid 70s.
Plante. Jacques Plante.
Jacques Plante is number 10.
Damn!
Okay, that's a lot. Do you want to?
That's 2 strikes, you guys.
You want to say
got
what's
one
the
more
what's the
strike.
guarantee one? Like what's the one we know? We're gonna hate this, aren't we? Like is Cujo the guy? Is
What about Grant Fuhr?
oh he played a lot of playoff hockey.
And they won a shitload of games. He wasn't the goalie for all of them.
Yeah, it was Ranford for some of it, and then in St. Louis he played a lot of playoff games too.
He would have.
Yo, one more strike.
Grant Fuhr, lock it in.
Grant Fuhr is tied with Marc-Andre Fleury at 92. He is number 4.
Let's go. We're
He is
still
number
alive.
4 on the list. For
Still
that, how about this one? Grant Fuhr reached 92 playoff wins in 150 games. Marc-Andre Fleury did it in 169.
Wow.
Grant Fuhr just really won a lot of games in a short amount of time.
Okay, so like Billy Smith, like with all those Islanders cups.
That would make a lot of sense. But did they? They would always. It's after that, right? Because they were
Talking to the
early
mic.
80s. They were early 80s, right? Three rounders, right? And they did go deep but
Like I'm trying to the
They
Penguins.
won
Tom
4
Barrasso.
I'm gonna leave it to you. I have no idea.
Come on. No.
You want to try Billy Smith, or you want to try Cujo, or Belfour? I think
Billy Smith, lock it in.
Billy Smith is number 5. Yeah! Well done.
Let's go. Yo,
Ed Belfour.
we hit 2 home runs with a 0-2 count.
Yeah.
Let's
Ed
go.
Belfour's number 6. Ken Dryden's number 7. Mike Vernon's number 8. Chris Osgood's number 9. Jacques Plante is number 10.
Andy Moog.
Andy
Andy
Moog.
Moog, and then Andre Vasilevsky, the first non-Canadian goalie.
Wow.
Andre
Moog
Vasilevsky.
sneakily had a pretty darn good career.
Oh, yeah. Vasilevsky and Hasek tied with 65. So Vasilevsky wins 1 playoff series. This year, he moves into 11, and if he wins 2, he'll pass Jacques Plante in his 20s.
I love the time on there, like how many minutes played. Patrick Roy played 15,000 minutes in the playoffs.
It's stupid.
That's
That's
unreal.
a lot of. That's a
Wow.
long time.
If Tampa wins the Cup this year, Vasilevsky will pass Ken Dryden.
I also love that Grant Fuhrer leads them all in scoring with 14 points.
He does.
Brodeur's the only one with the goal, though.
Yeah, I remember that goal. That was crazy.
Yeah. The save percentages, too, I also found interesting. Ed Belfour's sitting there at a 920, but then you go to Andre Vasilevsky at 921. Like, that's absurd.
Those are crazy numbers.
Where's Fuhrer? Oh,
Anybody from the 80s. Look at
Yeah,
Andy Moog.
the 898 from Fuhrer doesn't really count.
Vernon as well.
Vernon's an 80s guy.
Andy Moog. Yeah, look at anyone who played in that era. They got shelled.
Yeah. Hasek was a 925. That's awesome.
They were wearing equipment that got heavier as the game went on, and they were smoking between periods.
And
It's a wonder that 80s goalies got shelled.
old hockey makes me so upset when I see a goalie and he doesn't know the butterfly exists.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there and pucks just go through his legs because he doesn't know it, because it hasn't been invented to go down yet.
It was right there.
There's no butterfly.
How did nobody think of it?
It's
It
hard
was
to-
right there for
It's
70
hard-
years.
It's real hard to watch old
It's
hockey.
hard to watch, man.
Okay.
I watch it in the bar. Like sometimes the bar will just play classic games. How do you not laugh?
The puck is sliding across the ice and it just goes through his leg.
Yeah.
The
I'm
only
like,
thing I
guys.
can think of is it got easier to play goalie from your knees once
You had a mask.
had a mask.
Yeah, when you watch Bernie Jeffrey on slap shots, he was the guy that invented them.
I'd stand too.
And he and it's like you see them, it's like the goalie saw it the entire way. And it went through his legs. And you're like, there's not a screen. No one's standing in front of that shit.
No.
Why did anyone lift the puck before like 1980?
You didn't need to.
No.
Like-
you wouldn't need to just literally slide it across the ice.
Yeah.
You can't get down
What?
to block it.
And you were considered like less of a man because masculinity was under fire if you curved your stick. They had fucking flat, straight sticks. And they're like, well, if you can't lift him doing that, you're shitty at the game.
Have you seen
Crazy.
those TikToks that it's girls talking about their ick? And this guy,
What, the guy that just keeps the list of them all?
the list of
Yeah.
all the ridiculous icks.
Yeah.
There should be like a hockey coach list of icks. Curving your stick, wearing a mask to protect your face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The modern one of using roller things on your bag. You know,
Yeah.
and you got to put it on your shoulder. If you have a roller bag, it's bad.
Yeah.
I remember when
it
those
means
came
you're
out.
Weak and stupid.
My parents told me, they're like, if you can't carry your bag to hockey, you can't play hockey. When those came out, I was like, oh. I'm like, well, it'd just be cool. I don't know.
Hey, I have an idea.
Seems like a really good idea.
I'm 9. Let me roll my bag.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my wild modern theory that it doesn't fucking matter?
Yeah. Well, Josh Bailey assigned a PTO in Ottawa. He had 25 points last year. I think that's a really good little depth pickup for them.
Oh, yeah. I thought Toronto would be a sleeper just because of his ties to,
Bowmanville.
well, I was going to say John Tavares, but sure, yeah, Bowmanville.
From Bowmanville.
That works. That team is going to score goals.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to score goals. The question is on the other stuff.
One of the things that I think fans get frustrated with sometimes, and if you're watching Winning Time, sometimes you go, man, why can't I have an owner that wants to win as bad as the Bus family does, right? And they still do. They still own the team. And every once in a while, you get a pro sports owner who does shit for the fans. And
it.
Matt Ishba of the
Ishbia.
of the Suns is this guy. At least, maybe it's a love affair right now and it'll come out that he's a horrible person later. Usually that's what happens with stories. But so last spring, he decided to walk away from talks to extend the TV rights deal with Bally Sports. Bally Sports obviously going through some financial issues, and they were offering less money. And he's like, well, no, they're not worth that. So he made the games available on broadcast stations in Arizona, owned by a company called Gray Television. That's an Arizona-owned company. The team is also partner with Queasy or something. I don't know. It's a thing that's not available in Canada to offer a streaming option for games. This choice left millions of dollars on the table, but would triple the reach of its games to more than 2.8 million households for every single game. So he left money on the table so he could reach more people. He also said over the long term, it would be a better business move to appeal to more fans. Crazy. To help fans make the switch, this is what you're going to love. The Suns have offered to send fans antennas to connect their televisions if they filled out a request on the team's website.
Are you joking?
So they are sending, if you don't have any of the packages of the streaming service, you can still pick it up on an antenna and they will send you one and they will pay for it, I think. I'm pretty sure I couldn't figure out who's paying for it here.
It's free over the air, right? Or you mean like the shipping of the antenna?
The shipping of the antenna. I'm assuming they're paying for it. So the offer was so popular with fans, the Suns quickly ran out of the initial batch of antennas and had to order more. 70 of their games are available via antenna this year.
There you go.
All the local games. Now, Toronto, we couldn't do that because most of our games are national. That's the way Sportsnet takes them. Most of them are national. When they're on TSN, that's when they're regional. So there's probably 20 games, 20, 30 games that are regional. But to be honest, I was looking at this and I'm like, this is brilliant.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's forward thinking, and it's very the NBA.
But it's forward thinking in a backwards way. He's sending antennas.
Right. And it's
when
not,
you could stream it on the internet.
Yeah, but fucking get people to watch your shit. That's what it comes down to.
I don't even give credit to the NBA. Like, I'm giving credit to Matt Ishbia.
Yeah,
because
no, you're right.
He's a 43-year-old man. And what do 40-year-olds not do? They don't own these sports franchises. All these other guys in these other leagues, like they're in their 70s and they're in their 80s and everything. But like Matt Ishbia, he made a bunch of money in the mortgages industry and like lending money and that sort of stuff. And now he's a billionaire and he bought this team. And this is what we need out of the new generation of people who can own these sports franchises. You know, we got to get rid of this older guard that doesn't think outside the box here, and we get somebody who's young, who's like, I have a toy thing, I own a basketball team that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are on. I'm gonna do some fun shit, and this is so cool to see.
He brings the best player of the last, well, outside of LeBron, the best player of the last generation into play with one of the best players of the now generation, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
Steph Curry fans are going to yell at you.
Yeah, I know. I said one.
Who?
One of. KD is like a scoring machine, right? He's a monster. I just think, like, how brilliant. Let's make the product great and then get it to as many people as we can.
You might just watch them win a championship. You know? Dude, it's
going to want,
cool,
people are going to, well, and I wonder for this television network, Gray Television, which is the network that's carrying them, I wonder if the local broadcast makes sense in terms of money in, because they're not going to have a lot, like they didn't pay a lot for the rights, but I wonder if they make a lot more money knowing that a bunch of people are watching over the air.
Yeah, maybe you can charge more to advertisers because more people are watching.
That's
and
right.
then your profits are higher.
And who gets more from that?
Everybody.
Well, yeah, but the Suns ultimately,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
everybody eats.
I loved it.
What's wrong with everybody eats?
That is sort of supposed to be the idea.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be the idea of good business, is everybody works, everybody.
No. What about
What about just me?
stomp on everyone's jugular as hard as you can and sit atop a money hoard like fucking Queen Cersei? Like, I don't understand it. It's bizarre how many billionaires, and I'm going to sound like a complete peasant saying this, but it's bizarre how many billionaires are profoundly allergic to money.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You could be making so much more. Oh yeah, but my pride's in the way.
help people.
Yeah.
Help us with the number one thing preventing people from watching sports these days is not a lack of a passion for sports.
It's regional rights.
You made it too fucking hard to watch sports.
Well, and think about this. Like I told you in the last episode, for TSN Edge plus, whatever they
TSN
call
Plus,
it.
yeah.
I don't know what it used to be TSN Edge, and then it was just TSN. Now it's TSN Plus.
And Sportsnet did the same thing.
No, it's not Sportsnet. Now it's Sportsnet Plus because they are the same company. They're just different colors. It's $80 a month to have the full package on both. If you but if you buy their cable, that's where you get the real deals. Except you're paying $100-something a month then.
You got a bunch of channels you don't watch.
You can't. Why can't we? I looked at that. I'm like, why can't it be like that here? It'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Corporate profits.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Screw the man. That's what I gotta say.
No, but by making
what's
more
wrong,
decisions,
Steve?
you make less money. Is the point I'm trying to fucking make?
No. We should go back to what the Blackhawks did and just not broadcast any games on TV so people will come to the arena. Decades.
The last thing I wanted to hit before we go to the press conference is this is actually a really great cause, but it has created a lot of memes. So obviously, the SAG after strike and that sort of thing. There's the two unions that are on strike. There's a union solidarity coalition, and a lot of famous people have put themselves up for grabs on eBay to do certain things for you if you bid, and then the proceeds from this bid goes to union members trying to pay people throughout the strike. The strike is now at 5 months, and there have been literally next to nothing in terms of meetings. So
I don't understand what they're all upset about. Just let me steal your voice and face forever.
Yeah.
For no money, basically. What's your fucking problem? People don't want to work.
Yeah, people just don't want to work.
Back in my day, it was fine to steal your voice and face forever.
If you take away the incentive to work, the reward of working, which is compensation, people don't want to work.
I don't get it.
Crazy, right? I was going through some of these, and I wanted to know how much you would pay for virtual story basics sessions with Spike Jonze and Lena Dunham together.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so they teach you how to make a story.
Sorry, Spike
Jonze. Not Spike Lee, Spike Jonze.
Yeah. I definitely thought you said Spike Lee.
No, Spike Jonze.
Like,
there's two Spikes, both directors.
Who put those together?
No, not them. So there's that.
Okay.
So that currently sits at $5,100. Mm-hmm. There's, I don't know if you, Jesse, if you'd like to weigh in what you would bid for this.
I'm out.
20 minutes and 20 questions with filmmaker and actress Maggie Gyllenhaal on Zoom.
Okay.
I think I'm out as well.
I'm not the most into that.
Natasha Lyonne from Orange is the New Black and also American Pie way back in the day.
Which one's she?
She's like the cool one. Like in American Pie, she's like the cool, like streetwise person. Yeah,
with the raspy voice?
Yeah,
she's cool.
She's so cool.
Yeah.
She will help you solve the New York Times Sunday crossword.
I would pay for this.
Okay.
Have you guys ever done a crossword?
Yeah, of course.
You guys do crosswords?
I mean, not regularly.
I had a roommate that did crosswords every day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he swore by it. He's like, it's just, I can't wake up without it.
Was it Party Marty?
It was Party Marty.
Oh, so lukewarm Marty then.
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know if you had the same experience, but when I took the GO train to Ryerson, or TMU now, I used to do the Sudoku on the GO train because they used to have those free GO newspaper things. Did you used to do them too?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes. I recently, I was doing Wordle, then I got big into Quordle, and now I'm doing Waffle.
What is that?
It's an extremely fucking hard version of Wordle.
Waffle?
Waffle.
There was a song one.
They
that was
could have
really
picked
good
a
at
better
that.
name, let's be honest. But it's a fun game.
What is the song one?
The song, I forget what it was called, but it had the Erdl thing, and I think Spotify bought it. And it was
Songball.
Hurdle.
Is it Hurdle?
Oh, Hurdle. Yes,
Hurdle.
yes, it was Hurdle.
Yeah, it was good.
Because here and
Yeah.
Hurdle, yeah. And then, you hear like a snippet of the song or something?
Yeah,
What
and then
was
you got to
it?
guess what it is.
That's fine.
And I'm
I
like,
hated it because
I'm like,
I'm
I
bad
can.
at it.
The cast of Bob's Burgers will sing you a song written just for you.
I would pay for this.
How cool is
That's
that?
amazing.
That's amazing.
Bob's Burgers, underrated show.
Such a great show.
Underrated,
right?
yeah.
You love good dark cartoon.
Yeah, that's my shit.
That's
good
your-
cartoons.
Like
BoJack's one of my favorite shows ever.
Virtual hangout with Bones cast with Emily, David, Michaela, and Tamara.
I am good.
A watercolor portrait of you done by John Lithgow.
Yeah, I'd pay for that.
He was in Shrek. He was the he's also like Winston Churchill in The Crown, and like he did a whole bunch of Third Rock from the Sun.
Dr. Dick Solomon.
Yeah, that's right.
How many people listening to this weren't born when Third Rock to the Sun was out?
Well, I'm just trying to name who he was, but
Hey, French Stewart is still a very popular person in pop culture.
he was Lord Farquaad.
There you go.
should know who that is. Bob Odenkirk and David Cross will join you for dinner.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Empty my bank account.
Third
Yeah,
Rock
like-
from the Sun came out in 1996.
Yeah, now you know. That right now is it's $9,300. Lena Dunham.
My hand went into your teeth in 2023.
Lena Dunham will paint you a mural
No.
in your home.
No.
That's not real.
Yeah, it
No.
is. She'll paint you a mural.
I'll pay you $50 to stop saying her name.
Lena Dunham. What about 20 questions in 20 minutes on a Zoom call with Sarah Silverman?
No.
That could be fun, don't you think? I think she's funny.
She seems... I know a lot of people cannot fucking stand her. She seems cooler in interviews than she does
I think she
in
seems
other
rad.
settings.
Okay, well, what about this then? And Jesse and I knew somebody that loved this show, New Girl. Zoom with the cast of New Girl.
What is that?
This
Lena
is Zoe
Dunham show?
Deschanel where she's adorkable.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that's how they used to.
Remember when they replaced the guy in the first episode?
Yeah, they did the pilot. Yeah, he's gone.
There's a new guy who's
just
just
there.
that guy. Yeah.
Oh, is that with like they're all roommates?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like Schmidt.
yeah.
Yes. you know the show.
Yes,
I'd,
yeah.
yeah, I'd pay for it.
Name
I'd
more
pay for
things
it.
about New Girl, Steve.
I named two.
Steve, here's what you can bid on.
I named
Steve
literally
Dangle
two things.
will name things about New Girl, and you can sit there and listen. We give it to you for free. Right here on the Steve Dangle Podcast. No, I know.
SL had it on in the background once.
Steve, name more things about New Girl.
I can't.
You know what? I
wish I could.
did you get that show? I never got that show.
I didn't watch it. No. I watched it like the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Like when it came out in 2011. I was looking up when it came out.
I had a girlfriend
Long
that
time.
really liked it, and every time I watched it, it just never hit me, never got me.
Schmidt looks like my cousin Chris. There's three things.
Adam Scott, comedic actor, walks your dog for an hour, only for LA dogs.
Who's Adam Scott? I forget.
Parks and Rec guy,
Ben.
that guy.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's been in literally everything.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would do that?
I'd do that.
You do.
How much?
That's at $2,500 right now.
Oh.
That's not so bad, right?
Yeah.
Eh?
The Lena Dunham one, is she gonna fly?
Stop saying it.
Is she gonna fly to Toronto? Is that included in the price?
I would think.
Is it going
would
to
have
be
to
local to her? What's happening?
I don't know. It must be. I like it didn't. You know, the dog thing was LA based dogs only. Lena Dunham does not have the LA based murals only.
Okay.
So I don't know.
How much?
For Lena?
Yeah.
Stop.
$3,050 right now.
I think we need a mural in the office.
Okay.
Oh, she put her jersey number in there?
No.
I think that's a business write-off. We get a little mural done by Lena Dunham in the office, in Steve's corner of the office.
Can we actually write that off?
Yeah. It's for the building. I think we pay Lena Dunham to fly to Toronto and paint us a picture.
I don't mind that. I would love to see what that mural looks like. Be a piece of history right there.
There's others
Think
who
about
are
it.
willing to paint, though.
Think about it.
But
Well, okay, who not
about it.
her
Think
is
about it.
willing to paint?
Take the night, sleep on it. We'll come back on Monday. We'll regroup.
Okay. All right. That's about it. Unless you're interested in taking a pottery class with Busy Phillips in New York City, an experience for two. You and your partner, you and SL, you and Mrs. Dangle, head on down to New York City, take a little pottery class, which is a nice little date night for people that have been married for a while. Nobody who's in the hot, sexy beginning of a
Oh yeah,
relationship.
no.
is
If
like,
you
let's
just
do
started
pottery.
going out, you should stay home and bang. But if you've been together for a while, you should do this.
and you need a bit of a
Definitely. Yeah. No. If you're like young and hot, like no, stay home and bang.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Yeah.
Hmm.
There you
Yeah.
go. All right. Well,
if you're old enough to have got a wedding ring and lost it, you should definitely go to the pottery class.
I don't know Rosemary DeWitt, but I know Ron Livingston, and they will give you advice relationship advice over Zoom.
That's not worth
I
it.
think they're just joking.
They don't know you.
Yeah.
No.
They don't.
Yeah.
Strangers giving me advice.
What if I'm terrible?
All right. Well, those are all the good ones. The rest of them are like memorabilia and stuff like that. No one cares.
Fuck you. That's amazing.
Do you really want me to get into the memorabilia?
No. I think we move on.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah.
What's some of the memorabilia from New Girl?
Can I ask?
Tell me.
Can I ask a press conference question?
Yeah,
Just one
let's do
for
it.
Today. I can't hit the button.
Oh, why not?
Thank you. It played in post, so everybody listening heard it.
Stranger Things poster signed by the guys that wrote Stranger Things, but none of the actors.
Oh, yeah, great.
Sorry.
No.
Nah, writers are more important.
I just
Yeah.
realized I keep doing the old.
Okay, what about
I keep doing the old presser thing.
Rick and Morty collector's package signed by Spencer Grammer?
I think
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Sorry.
All right,
Okay,
so
sorry.
question. This is from Kimberly. Do you guys know the TikTok trend where women are asking the men in their lives how often they think about the Roman Empire?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Hilarious.
I would like to ask you guys at the pod. This is from Kimberly. She says this. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
I can tell you my answer is going to be less than Adam.
It's minimum once a day.
And
It is. I have to tell you that.
And she goes on to say, and can Adam, because she assumed you would say this.
Yeah.
Can Adam give a history corner to explain why men apparently think about it so often?
Well, it depends what
She says,
kind-
I am a woman and I'm very confused by this.
I genuinely concerned Estelle yesterday when I said, once or twice a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, so it depends on what kind of man you're talking about. Because you got your weirdo cretin loser online who's like, we need to go back to those times. That's when men were men. And,
Yeah.
And really, when you look at the Roman Empire in today's lens, the Roman Empire, especially after it became an empire, was essentially a fascist dictatorship that lasted for 1,000 years, right? Until then, it was a very limited republic. Very limited republic. Very few people could actually vote. You know, most of the power is with the rich people.
Italy without the pasta.
Yeah, what the hell, right? That didn't come around till later.
Terrible.
They had the wine though. They did have the wine. So I think for those people, it's like, I don't have a personality, so this is my identity.
I am Maximus. I am him.
For people who are somewhat normal, I'm somewhat normal that I think about all the time. The Roman Empire is, to me, the precursor to all the things that have happened since, obviously. But it plays a role in so many things that we still deal with today. And, created so much of what we deal with today and was the reason for, or at least a good chunk of the reason for things like the Enlightenment, even though that even goes back to ancient Greece.
And when we go to Mandarin, I'll have so much that afterwards in the parking lot, I make myself barf.
That's right. Well, that's what they used to do in Roman feasts.
Yeah.
You would eat so much, and then they would go and purge, and then they would come back and eat more.
I love them.
great.
Famous for that.
Sounds
It's a
That's the world I want to live.
it is it's a fascinating thing that happened in human history, and the fact that it in so many ways was so modern. They had really modern ways, things that we would identify with, and then stuff that is super ancient, like they believed it, and then they also did things like adopted other people's culture. Like Roman culture is essentially Greek culture. They conquered Greece. They're like, oh, your gods? Those are our gods now.
But with different names.
With different names.
And guess what?
Zeus, his name's Jupiter.
That's what all the planets are now.
That's right. So I don't know. I think there's so much that you can pull out of that if you're a fucking dork like I am. And yeah, I would not want to live in Rome. I'll put it that way. I would not want to live during that era.
Okay, so
at all.
This was a conversation I had with SL yesterday.
Yeah.
Would you rather live in like we're talking 2,000 years ago or even 500 years ago? Would you rather live somewhere hot and be a peasant or somewhere cold and be a peasant?
I think
The hot.
I think hot.
Yeah.
But the hot you get diseases like malaria, right?
shit.
That's part of the problem with the reason that the Italians had such trouble, I think, around the north and stuff. Like Rome was essentially
puke
built
everywhere.
in a swamp.
Oh.
So there's a lot of malaria, and I don't know if it was yellow fever, but there's dengue or one of those
Adam.
really bad.
I assume you know nothing on this, but How many mosquitoes have killed humans in the history of time?
It's like most.
Did you not read
the
a
book? You
giant
should read
book
the
on this
mosquito.
that you've been telling me for years to
I
read?
would like half an hour on
Read
this, actually.
that book. The mosquito is.
You're obsessed.
It's such a great book. It's so phenomenal. The other one that people recommended after I mentioned on the podcast is Salt. There's a book just on salt and its effect on human history. Another crazy book that I have not fully gotten through yet, I admit. But the mosquito one is like, it's mind blowing how much it had on it. And there's also there's bugs, germs, and guns, or some sort of book that kind of pulls them all three together and how that affects things and how that's affected world history. But yeah.
But yeah, I
answer the
interrupted
peasant question.
the hot.
I would want to be if it was Europe. I'm only talking Europe. I would not want to be in England because it's at that point it's too far north, and it gets cold, and you are open. Yeah, the food sucks.
The food
you're open
and
to
the
famine
art.
all the time.
And the art.
The art's terrible. They forgot how to draw.
They don't know how to draw. Medieval Brits didn't know how to draw.
I think I'd want to
Look it up.
somewhere in the Bosphorus. I'd want to be in modern day Turkey or the Balkans, right around where Constantinople was, because it wasn't like. Because Italy is super fucking hot.
No, you don't get a choice in a temperate place. Like we're talking, you either get the extreme of the hot or the
get the
extreme
hot
of
or
the
the
cold.
cold.
Okay, the hot.
You don't get to pick the middle.
Yeah, the hot.
Okay.
Or like south of France, somewhere in there. I would want to. Yeah, if it's gonna be hot, I'd rather be hot.
I get distracted by my own stupid thoughts, and for most of the early part of Braveheart, I'm just like, God, they must have been wet all the time. You would just be wet.
Oh, in Scotland, yeah.
Scotland 500 years ago, when were you ever dry?
What's interesting is they developed the kilts with the kind of wind that Scotland has.
Right?
Like that's always baffled me. Like Celtic culture, which influenced a lot of what Scotland and pre-Roman Britain was, they wore pants. They were famous for wearing pants, and the Romans made fun of them for it. What's the what do they make the kilt out of? The pattern on the kilt. Why can't I think of it?
Plaid.
Plaid came from the Celts, right? Or the Celts. I'm wondering why the Scots were like, nah, fuck your pants. This big gust of wind is gonna go right up in my crotch.
I tell you why, because the stupid fucking English wore pants.
Is that what it was?
I don't know.
I don't think it was.
But based on conversations with my in-laws, I would believe.
Anyway, yes, Jesse, next question.
That's it for today.
Oh, okay.
I just want to talk about the Roman Empire and everybody loves
By the way, there is no difference between the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Don't let them tell you otherwise. The Roman Empire lasted until 1453.
Well,
I've said my piece. That's my hot take.
What's your favorite Greek god?
I'm a big Hephaestus guy. Big
one's
Hephaestus guy.
Hephaestus?
Hephaestus.
which one?
He's
Did he
the he's like the emo Greek god. He's like in his room and he's like doing blacksmithing and shit like
How do you
that, and he's
spell
always
it?
mad.
How do you spell it?
Hephaestus.
I think I got it.
Yeah.
The god of blacksmith and fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look
grumpy.
at this guy. Adam, you would look this guy.
I just think I always found him hilarious in like grade 11 when we learned about this stuff. He's just such a moody guy in all the work. Just angry all the time. It's like, what's Hephaestus? He's like Winnie the Pooh of Greek gods. Just okay.
Oh, bother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, do you got one?
I think wasn't he married to Venus and she cheated on him a bunch? I think.
There's no way.
There's a lot of interesting hanky-panky amongst the Greek gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember Mercury's Greek name. Because Mercury is the Roman god, who is from the Greek god, I forget.
Hermes.
Hermes.
The god of like delivering mail and speed.
Yeah, I like delivering mail. Let's go with Hermes.
God of translators and interpreters, sorry. Messenger.
Was
I
the
wish I knew
messenger
more
of the
like-
gods and the mediator between the realm of the dead and the kingdom of the living.
Ooh.
The tea spiller. The ultimate tea spiller.
He's a gossipy guy.
He dealt in an
His
economy.
little finger.
Yeah, he dealt in an economy of words. And I'm down with that. And also he had a cool hat
So Hermes would be like,
There you
and
go.
shoes.
he'd be like, Hermes would have tickets to Taylor Swift.
He's your guy.
Yeah, he's your guy. He's your
Zeus
connection.
would be like, I know a guy.
Yeah.
And it's Hermes.
It's Hermes. Okay, I like that. All right. That makes sense.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here.
Are you doing Ken Danica?
Yeah, what the fuck?
what voice is that?
I'm at the Taylor Swift concert, Adam. And let me tell you, I don't know about you. I'm feeling 22. Brought to you by the New Jersey State Lottery. Remember, anything can happen in Jersey. Did you hear the one about her scarf? I also heard the one about her scarf. There's a big debate about her old stuff and her new stuff, but I think the new stuff sounds better. It's truer to her.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.